made me cry. It made me question everything. It made me like, it literally felt like it forced me to believe in God.
Jack, my good friend,
Brian,
welcome to the Created to Win podcast.
Thank you, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. So I'd love to hear your story, man. I know you're an incredible podcaster. You're a baller, played some basketball. I see this guy literally at the gym every morning except for this week because I've been totally slacking.
I've been slacking too. I've been coming in really late.
Okay. Usually.
Yesterday I came in at like 9 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been sleeping too much.
That's better than me. I came in never a.m. But yeah, usually at the gym, see you at like 6:30 in the morning. You're a total beast. This guy can lift like some heavy weight.
No, you were lifting a little bit heavier.
Well, that's because
we did the bench competition.
I got a little insecure. I'm like, oh man, this guy's lifted a lot, but it's all good.
You didn't expect it. I remember I pulled out the 80 pounds.
And I think you're at 85.
85, and then you went and got the 90s.
Yeah.
As soon as I picked up the 85s, I'm like, oh, he's trying to do like a lift off.
That's just my. I don't know. I like to have a good time.
Yeah.
Right on, man. But yeah, I just respect you, man. You're a good friend of mine. Thank you, I know you got a great story. So I just love to hear just like, what's your story, man?
From like, I guess, what perspective?
Yeah. So you grew up, was it Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually born in New Jersey. Lived there. I'm a 9/11 baby. So
9/11
I was
baby.
3 months old when 9/11 happened.
Wow.
And our condo where we lived could actually see the Twin Towers. So we were pretty close to New York when that happened.
No
My
way.
dad worked in Manhattan and he got laid off after. We had the rest of our family in Michigan.
What?
We had the rest of our family in Michigan. So then my parents basically didn't want to raise a family in a target zone because at that point they
Makes
had no
sense.
idea what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I bet that's kind of weird for you to think about where you were during 9/11 and think that I was 3 months old at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
You were probably, what, you're 35?
I was in.
You were 12.
I think I was like in 6th or 7th grade or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But so then we moved to Michigan. I was raised in Michigan, lived there until I was 18, went to Florida to play prep school basketball, then went to college in Ohio for 2 years for basketball, dropped out, and now I live in Nashville.
Okay. I love it. It. So, I'm curious, what were you studying in college, and you're playing basketball, but decided to leave that behind? Mm-hmm. What was the mindset behind that?
The mindset was that at one point I realized that I didn't want to play basketball anymore because it wasn't fun to me. When it gets to the certain point of competitive basketball, you start to lose the love for it because it starts becoming less of a love for the game and more of a job, especially in college athletics, like 3 or 4 workouts a day. You're not making money at it, but you are giving up your life for it, essentially. Yeah. So I never wanted to quit until I realized that I could still play basketball for fun. I didn't need to play it competitively, but I think it was just myself trying to prove to myself that I wanted to just play basketball because that's what I was meant to do. Mm-hmm. But then when I realized that I didn't want to go any further with it, like professionally, I was like, why drag this so long if this isn't what I'm going to do? And I was only going to college for that anyways. Oh, okay. So, yeah. No,
so you weren't into the books or anything?
I don't know.
Got it.
I was a sports marketing major. I had no desire to do anything with that degree or anything. Yeah. It was just because it was the easiest major to take as a college athlete. Yeah. That was it.
Okay. Yeah. So it became just like a job, and like you probably didn't see like much of a future. I'm sure you loved the sport. But.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I knew a lot of people that had played overseas in the G League, some in the NBA. So I definitely had the connections. I guess it sounds a little bit weird to say. Like I feel like I did have the skill level if I had really dedicated myself in college. I had done it in high school, but college was when I was starting to fall away from really being dedicated to it. I could have played overseas from the connections I had. I think the skill level that I would have had, I would have been able to do that just from what people were telling me that were involved in those certain areas.
Okay.
But yeah, I realized that if I didn't love basketball while I was playing in college, playing professionally,
Yeah.
it would have never worked out.
Okay. So it sounds like the love, well, you kind of lost the love for it. So what
Yeah.
is the love? Not in the romantic sense, but like, what do you love now? Like, what do you, cause I know,
Yeah.
sometimes people think, oh, college dropout failure.
Mm-hmm.
Totally
Not in this generation.
not in this generation. Like
No.
because you're a little bit younger than me, but like I respect like because you're was it
Gen Z.
Gen Z? You guys are super entrepreneurial. I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna announce to the world, but you're making decent money. I know what you told me, and
Yeah.
and you're doing great stuff.
More than I thought I'd be making. Yeah.
Making more than most college grads.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is it that you love, and what are you doing? Because I know you're a go-getter.
Yeah, I know. I love video creating.
Yeah.
That's what I started out doing when I dropped out of college, was that I started making videos. I started doing vlogging on YouTube, just travel vlogging. Nice. I slept in the car sometimes, traveled around the country.
Yeah.
I really loved that. And eventually that led me to podcasting and the business that I run now, which is my own business, Youngblood Media. And that's basically, it started out as a social media marketing agency.
Okay.
Everybody kind of had an SMMA in Gen Z
at
one point. That's kind of where you start out.
Right.
Now I've branched into doing podcast stuff, like just podcasting, podcast editing, publishing, consulting. So that's what I really love doing right now. I do a bunch of videos on Instagram. Like I love making my own content too, just passion project stuff.
Yeah.
My own podcast and then the podcast business.
So how can someone find your material? Like where would they go?
Instagram, YouTube. I post on Twitter, but not much. So Instagram, YouTube, used to be TikTok until it got banned.
Is TikTok still banned? I'm not on TikTok.
I don't have it because it got removed from my phone the night of for some reason. I don't know why.
Interesting.
I don't know if it was an Apple glitch or something, but when I woke up, it was gone.
And
I was like, oh,
that's
just what I guess they just deleted it off of everyone's phones. But then I saw everyone else still had it. And then the next day they let it go. Like it's back. It's fully back, just not in the App Store. So everyone who has it on their phone can still go on it.
Really?
I can't anymore because I can't go to the App Store and re-download it.
Okay.
But I actually don't mind that. I don't really like TikTok too much anyways.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
I prefer Instagram and YouTube.
Okay, Instagram and YouTube. And so tell me, like who are your clients? Who do you serve?
Anybody who wants to have a voice on the internet, anybody who wants to have a podcast, anybody who's passionate about video creation. That's pretty much who I serve. I don't think I can I can't really say who specifically I work with. But anybody who has a passion for video creating or having their own voice in a positive manner. Like I will make sure that they have the right intentions with wanting to do well on social media and stuff before I start working with them. Because there are certain categories of people I wouldn't work with.
Really?
But that's just people if our expectations and mindsets don't align, won't usually do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm a Christian, you're a Christian.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of something I look for. I wouldn't exclude somebody if they weren't a Christian, but it depends on what they do. Like if it gets to the point of that they're not Christian, that's fine. But if they're doing something like OnlyFans, if they want to do an OnlyFans content podcast, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't work with them. I wouldn't slander them or anything. I just wouldn't help promote it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And so why do you do that? Like, how'd you get into that?
Podcasting?
Yeah.
I honestly just wanted to have a podcast because everybody has a podcast nowadays.
Yeah.
But not everybody has a podcast with a purpose. I feel like that's something that a lot of people, I think that you're doing, I think that I'm doing, I think that a lot of other people that I know are doing. But most of the time you go on social media and you see these podcast clips of people kind of just yapping, not talking about anything productive.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start a podcast with my brother actually it was just about 2 years ago now that we started it. We just thought, why not start one where we get along, we have good conversations, we come up with good ideas, and we're super close as brothers. So why not just try it.
I love it.
And we've just improved ever since, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So cool. So cool. So how does one, because it's created a win, how do you win in the podcasting world?
How do you win in the podcasting world?
Yeah.
Have a purpose. Always strive to learn more every single podcast, whether that's how you're asking questions, who you're having on your podcast, what kind of equipment you use, how you can use your equipment better, how you can make your episodes better, titles, thumbnails, the variety of content, the types of clips you make, the way you interact with your audience. There's millions of ways that you can improve in podcasting, but not everybody goes out there with the desire to keep improving.
Yeah. And like, why is it important in this day and age to do things like podcasting and video creation?
I think it's really good for marketing, but it's also really good to just connect with people.
Yeah.
Podcasting can obviously like bring like two people together.
Yeah.
And just make a cool video, but also be able to get a lot of messages out there, whether they're positive or negative. But yeah, I feel like podcasting is just, it's kind of like the new wave. You know how radio used to be huge?
Yeah.
Podcasting has taken over radio, I believe.
So
like
cool.
How radio used to be back in our parents' days.
Yeah.
That's how podcasting is for us now.
Yeah. I love it. I don't know if you said this, or I heard somewhere like they said that Joe Rogan's like probably one of the like really smartest people around by the mere fact of he sits around and talks with experts from all these different arenas.
Yeah.
And so he just had a lot of conversations with a lot of really smart people. And you do enough of that and you just know a lot about a lot of different things, or a little about a lot of different things. And you just become more well-versed and it stretches you mentally. I mean, that's why I'm starting this is for anything to grow mentally.
Yeah.
Like I have so much to learn from you in the podcasting video creation sphere. I'm already learning a lot from you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm becoming smarter because it's like all about like just getting around people who know more than you. It's being the dumb person in the room, so to speak. So right now, guys, I'm the dumb person when it comes to the arena of podcasting and video. Jack is a smart person.
That's funny. No, I mean, that's true. Joe Rogan probably is the greatest podcaster of all time. And it's honestly so impressive how many famous people he gets on his podcast almost daily, it seems like. Because his podcasts come out multiple times a week, which is crazy to me because I'm struggling to even do once a week. But the fact that he's doing multiple a week, but not only doing multiple a week, he's getting like top scientists, politicians, public figures on consistently. Yeah. But obviously he has a whole team. He's been doing it for a long time. If anyone's going to be on a podcast, I think everyone wants to be on Joe Rogan, unless you're Kamala Harris or somebody.
Casting shade. I love it, man. They're throwing shade.
I would have loved to see that podcast.
That would have been
Kamala
amazing.
Harris and Joe Rogan. I think it would have been
to
fair
see that,
because Joe Rogan's a libertarian, isn't he? Like,
I don't
he's
know,
somewhat in the middle.
I don't know fully where he stands, but I do think he's a free thinker and like a logical person.
I think he would have been very fair. I mean, he had Trump on, and that was a great episode. He had JD Vance on. I really think that Kamala, it would have been a great episode. I think that I don't want to like get political, but I don't think she would have done as well because I think he would have actually asked her real questions, and it kind of seems like she dodges those when that happens. But I mean, regardless, I think it would have been interesting. I've heard like actually while the debates were going on, somebody suggested that Joe Rogan should have Trump and Kamala on, and that should be the debate. Yeah, like have. The debate should be the Joe Rogan podcast. That would have been crazy.
You want to know why I think she didn't do it?
Why?
It's because she knew she'd lose.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah.
You don't show up to a fight you think you're going to lose.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
And then Joe Rogan talked about the team, like Kamala's team was supposed to... Kamala's team talked to Rogan's team, something about... You can only ask her these specific questions, and it has to be at a different location. And
they're trying to control it.
Doing that.
So they control it
exactly
to where put her in the best place to succeed.
And honestly, when Rogan had Trump on, he was asking Trump some tough questions. Like I don't know if you heard that podcast.
I listened to the podcast.
It was not like he wasn't like praising Trump. He was asking him some hard questions of like, why did you do this way? You could have done this differently. And it wasn't like a praising Trump. It was honestly like he was trying to find ways to combat him, which I think is completely fair. I think is actually pretty cool.
For sure.
Like instead of just pulling up random things that aren't true, he actually went and found real facts that he was able to like hit hard on.
Yeah.
So, which is a great thing to do in podcasting, is like that's how you succeed in podcasting, is give people what they want to see for a purpose.
Yeah. I love it. So good. Yeah. I mean, I listen to the Mark Zuckerberg podcast, and I think it's really interesting. He has a lot of different characters on. If I were if someone were interested in your services of podcasting, like, do they just like reach out, DM you?
Yeah, just DM. I have a website, youngbloodmedia.com.
Okay.
I would say it's easier to just contact me on Instagram. It's just Jack_Youngblood.
Okay.
And that's it.
Got it. Okay, cool. I thought it was so funny. We were hanging out downtown for the tree lighting in downtown Franklin, and someone like approached you and was like, "Hey,
I had 3 people show up that night. That was crazy. Really weird."
Yeah.
Well, wait, do you want to tell this?
I just remember I just heard some girl talking to you saying, "Hey, are you so and so or something?"
Yeah.
I forget what she said.
Youngblood. I think she just said my name.
Yeah.
And that literally threw me so off because that never happens.
Right.
I'm not gonna be that person that's like, "Oh, this is the last thing I want to." I love that. That's actually so cool because I make content that I think can change people's or like make people feel better or give people different perspectives. And the fact that it's actually touching people that I don't even know, that's so cool to me. Like that's been happening at our church. Our church has been seeing a lot of our podcast.
Yeah.
I've had like some churchgoers that are now friends of Josh and I come up to us and be like, "Hey, I saw your podcast."
And Josh we don't is your even brother.
Know them. Yeah, Josh is my brother. Yeah. But yeah, no, we don't even know them. And then they basically they're like, "Oh yeah, I watched like one of your clips. It popped up on my YouTube feed and I realized that you guys went to my church." I'm like, "Oh, that's so crazy to me."
Yeah.
Like just people that we go to church with are just seeing our podcast online and then just saying hi to us, which is so cool. And then we had when we were at the tree lighting, another guy that was actually going to our church, he came up and was like, "Is that one of the Youngblood Squared Podcast brothers?"
Oh,
and
man.
I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I remember that happened like twice in a row, and either you or Grayson saw that and was like, "Well, Mr. Popular over here." I'm like, this is really weird.
Yeah. I think I even kind of like, it was just. I
think I started getting paranoid because I was like, is somebody gonna recognize me? And like, what if I said something wrong?
You're
and
right,
people like don't like
you.
Yeah.
We've already probably said some things that triggered some people.
Oh yeah, definitely. But nothing I haven't said on my own podcast. So,
can you imagine being like Bono or like someone like he's a U2 singer, or like someone just really well known, like, and then like you can't even go to the grocery store.
No, I don't want that kind of thing.
I would never want to be that famous.
No.
Like if you're Trump or like any politician that's well known, it's like, dude, you can't like go to Walmart to get your groceries.
You can no longer live a normal life, which I don't want at all. Yeah. You can't go anywhere. You can't have, you can't go to the Grand Canyon and go on a hike without 10 Secret Service members around you. Yeah. And it has to be like a whole thing. Nobody else can be there. I never want that kind of fame, which I don't think I'll ever have. Most people don't have that kind of fame. Yeah. Especially not like if you don't try to get that kind of fame, I don't think you can achieve that. Yeah. If you don't try to. If I got a little glimpse of that, I think I would pull back anyways. I mean, I don't know how that would happen.
It sounds like a lot of pressure.
It is, probably.
It really does.
Oh, I bet it is. Especially having to hire people to go do your regular day things. Yeah. That's no fun.
Yeah.
I want to go do things. I want to be human.
Can you imagine like being president?
No.
Like how stressful that would be. Like,
that
sounds like the worst job in the entire world.
It's definitely like
like the weight of the world is on your shoulders.
Exactly.
Half the country automatically hates you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they're just like, man, it's like I stress out about my own life and managing me, myself, and I. Like, can you imagine, what is it? However many millions of people are in America and having and the 7 billion people or so in the world that your decisions can affect.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of power.
And also there's people that actually want to kill you.
Yeah.
Like there are people out in the country that would do it if they had the chance.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing to think about, especially with him. He's been through 2 assassination attempts now. He has to think every time he goes out, it could be the last time he goes out.
Yeah.
Which is really scary to think. I really hope that never happens, but it's a real situation now.
Totally.
So yeah, it's scary, especially for his family. Imagine being one of his like family members.
Yeah.
They could be, well, I mean, it sounds bad to say, but you know, you've seen movies where people kidnap family members of important people and ransom.
Yeah.
Like you see his younger family members. Like one of them, I actually love her videos. His granddaughter, Kai Trump. I don't know if you've seen any of those videos.
No, I haven't.
She's been vlogging
Has
like
she?
the whole thing.
I've heard about that. I haven't
like she's
seen
gone to like the Elon events and the inaugurations. She vlogs all of it, which is super fun to see from her perspective, going behind the scenes and everything. But that's one thing I think I'd be super scared about. Is like if I'm Trump's 16-year-old granddaughter, I'd be scared to go out on my own. Yeah, because I feel like there would be a lot of people looking for me to try to, you know, kidnap me and put up money to Trump to get me back. But you're just in constant danger. Yeah. But I think she has Secret Service members around her. And then that's also tough. Right. A 16-year-old girl that has security around her the whole time. Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like if you ever get into a place of like high status, like you have to have good spidey senses to know who are the people who are truly for you. Yeah. Because people can want things from you. Like imagine if you're a powerful person, so you have like a lot of money or whatever, and it's like, do you know, like, are these people my friends because like they genuinely like me, or is it because what I can potentially offer them?
Yeah.
And so it's
that's scary.
And so as I pray for discernment and like, God, like, would you give me the discernment to understand who are the right people in my life and the people who, you know, are genuine and the people that I can trust. Yeah. You know, there's that aspect too.
Yeah. You want to make sure that you have real friends, but if you have that kind of name, you can never really be too sure. Yeah. Like, are you my friend because you like me as a person, or are you my friend because I have the last name Trump? Or whatever.
Or whatever. It doesn't have to, it could be anything. You'd be like a business owner that's really successful or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, and I see it in your content, you know, there's a lot about like working out. I would say personal growth, self-help type stuff. You integrate your faith. You had actually told me like you walked away from your faith and then came back. Yeah. Are you cool sharing?
Yeah. Yeah. I've done it. I've actually walked away a few times. I grew up Christian. My parents were Christian. I was going to a church that I guess it was Baptist. I think it was like a bigger church, kind of non-denominational / Baptist. I think it was more Baptist when I was a kid. Yeah, not too sure how that played, but I would just go to church as a kid. I never really had the love for it or anything. I just kind of dreaded it because I'm a kid. I don't want to go to church, whatever. I believed in God and everything. Just like most kids, I feel like most Christian kids grow up, they're like a little bit like, oh, I don't really want to go to church. I want to play with my friends and play video games. But then once I got into middle school, that's when it kind of correlates with basketball of things got, let's just say when I got passionate about basketball in 6th grade, I loved it, played it, and in 7th grade, I got cut from my middle school basketball team.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was terrible when I started out playing basketball.
Were you like horrible. Short and then like grew really tall?
No, I was taller.
You were always
the tall very uncoordinated. Okay. Uncoordinated, but with a extreme work ethic. And that's the only reason I made it so far.
I love it.
It was literally the work ethic. I had no talent to begin with at all. Yeah. I was tall, but nothing. I would shoot the basketball double-handed, could barely jump or anything. Like I was terrible. But yeah, once I got cut, that's what set me on this determination to get better, and that and then eventually I was getting cool with the cool kids, the athletes in 7th grade. And when 8th grade turned,
You're a cool guy.
But you know that cool group in middle school that you like want to be a part of? Yeah. Then in 8th grade, they kind of stabbed me in the back. And
and then the trust issues began in Jack's life.
Yes. Turned completely. That was hard because I had to deal with that every day with them.
What'd they do? I'm curious.
Physical and mental torture. It was,
physical and mental torture?
Well,
Man, these
just as a
eighth
middle
graders
school kid,
are
you don't
messed up.
Yeah, and when it's like around 20 people doing it, plus 20 plus people,
you got
doing
20
it,
people against you?
It was like an entire group, man. It was a lot of people.
Do you have a message to these eighth graders now?
I forgive them.
No, okay.
I forgive them, and honestly, I'm glad it all happened because it's what shaped me to be the person I am today, to be stronger, more independent, more hardworking. Because them doubting me in basketball and hating on me and wanting me to fail honestly just fueled the fire so much more. I wouldn't have made it so far in basketball if it wasn't for all of that. But during that time, I mean, every day I hated work. I hated waking up. I was suicidal in 8th grade.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So that's another
I did not want to live.
Is like depression in young people, which I hear is on the rise. But I'll continue.
I think it's been around.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't want to wake up every morning. I cried most days, and
really,
yeah, I didn't. Honestly, in 8th grade, freshman year and my sophomore year, I thought that God hated me.
You thought that God hated you?
I did. So that's when I fell away. I believed in God, but I believed that he hated me. So like, obviously my perspective, I wasn't as educated with how God was or like certain readings or anything. All I knew is that like, I believe in God, but I believe that he's out to get me. He hates me. He wants my life to be bad. And, you know, as a 13, 14-year-old kid, I mean, your mind's going to be a little bit mixed up. And like, I kind of understand why I shouldn't have thought those things, but I understand during that time, I mean, it was a tough time. And that's the only conclusion I could come to is like, if God's real, then why is he putting me through this? Then why am I going through this? Which now I can look back and be like, well, that was strengthening me into the person that I would eventually become.
Yeah.
Couldn't see that at the time.
Right.
So that was me, how I count myself turning away from God at that time. And then I transferred to a Christian school my junior year, actually. And that saved me. That the school welcomed me with open arms, with the coach, teammates, classmates, teachers. My whole life turned around. I started believing again. I loved it. Now that whole 2 years goes by, I meet like my trainer that used to play professional basketball. Met a bunch of professional basketball players through him. He also used to do bodybuilding. So that's how I got stronger and bigger. I was like near anorexic as a kid.
Were you? Not
like malnourished, just very tall and
very skinny.
Very skinny because I would eat, but I would burn thousands of calories a day playing basketball. So
basketball's
it was
tough, man.
Yeah, like I didn't starve myself or anything. I was like, when I was a freshman in high school, I was 6'1" and 120 pounds. I was skinny.
Bro, dude, you were like,
I was a twig.
Oh my gosh.
I was a twig. But then, yeah, so I met him. I was able to gain a bunch of weight from lifting and stuff because he used to do professional bodybuilding, but also professional basketball. Yeah. So that kind of set me up to be able to do really well. I give thanks to him to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I'm still friends with him to this day. He's actually, if you know Young LA, he's one of their top models.
Okay.
If you go to like Young LA's, you know Young LA?
I don't.
The clothing brand?
I think I've seen it, yeah.
It's kind of equivalent to Gymshark. It's like Gymshark and Young LA.
I think I've seen that at the gym. People wear that stuff.
Yeah, he's one of their top models. So if you go on the website, you'll see him. I think he's their only Asian model. He's
All
Korean.
Right, let's go.
But
Korean barbecue is bomb. Side note.
I love Korean barbecue. But yeah, so then I graduated from high school, went to college. College, I believed in God. I guess I wasn't as close with him because I was so dedicated to basketball and having to give up so much time that I wasn't able to focus on God. And you know, when you don't have as much God in your life, it starts to, or you start to fall away a little, or like kind of forget.
Yeah, you kind of lose a sense of purpose.
With God. Yeah, you need to surround yourself with God. The less God you're around, then the more you fall away or forget or fall into sinful temptations, which I feel like I probably did in college.
Yeah.
But then when I dropped out of college, I guess I got really focused on making money and videos and all of that. And then I guess not last year anymore, in 2023, I would say I was just agnostic. I honestly I believe that God could be real, but I didn't fully believe it. I was like, oh, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Why not? And then, so that was the second time I fell away from God. It sounds kind of like Peter of like, you will deny me three times. But yeah, so then in 2024, in January, I started watching The Chosen. You know that show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw the Jesus character from Chosen at the place where we work out
No way.
at Carbon.
No,
Or maybe I
he
shouldn't have
doesn't-
said that,
I
but
don't think he lives in Nashville.
me and my
He's
friend-
recording too much.
me and my
Jonathan Rumi?
I think so.
No
Me and
way.
my friend, another Jonathan, the guy that I work out with every morning
Yeah,
that you see,
yeah.
me and him were there like on a Saturday morning or something. And we were like, dude, that's the Jesus from Chosen.
There's no
He like had his
way.
hat on. He was like, you could tell like he was trying to be like elusive, like not to be seen. Like he's trying to almost hide his face.
After this podcast, I'm gonna look up where he lives. Because if he goes there, that means that he lives here. If he goes to Carbon, then it's got to mean that he lives here. But I don't think he lives here.
I don't know. We both could have sworn that was him. It really did look like him.
Interesting.
I wasn't gonna be one of those people who like go talk to people. Like if there's
Why
someone
not?
who's, I don't know. I like to give people their space.
I love the show or something. Do you watch the show?
I've seen like a part of an episode, but I know what people are
So
talking
you don't
about.
deserve to go to him.
I guess so. I am unworthy.
No, so The Chosen is what brought me back to Christianity the second time.
That's so cool.
I
Shout out to the Chosen producers.
I love The Chosen. I will promote it to the day I die. I really do love The Chosen. It's a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend go watching it. It's incredible. It made me cry. It made me question everything. It made me like. It literally felt like it forced me to believe in God in a good way. Like I got brought the question in my mind of, if not God, then what? And the what is nothing. It's God. God is the answer. That there's no way that God doesn't exist. There's no reason that I shouldn't believe in Jesus. So that's what the show brought me to.
Yeah.
And eventually I just turned back to faith.
That's awesome, man.
But yeah, that's The Chosen brought me back to it.
Yeah. I think it personally takes more faith to believe that there isn't a God than to believe that there is. Like,
I believe that.
Like, I think everything to a degree is you have to put your faith into something. Like, if you believe like we just came from like nothing and there's just this bang, and then at some point like this like chemicals or soup came together and created a tadpole, and that tadpole like went on, became a frog, became a monkey, and however billions of years later, now here we are. Like, that sounds like a lot of faith to believe in that. Something, I probably got the story wrong, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
no,
that takes a lot of faith.
Speaking from experience, I mean, that's what I kind of used to believe.
Yeah.
And I mean, without God, life feels pointless.
Yeah.
And it kind of is pointless. If there's no life after death, if there's no God, then what is the point of life?
Right. And why have morals? If it's just like we just came from nothing and we literally are nothing.
Yeah.
Like, why not just get what's mine?
Yeah. And doesn't
what I
that
mean?
kind
And
of
be selfish.
tell you that that's like not the right mindset to have and not what we're programmed for?
Yeah.
Is that sin?
Yeah.
That's what we shouldn't be doing. And without God, there are no morals. There's no reason to be good.
Right.
So then, in essence, why wouldn't you believe in God? If God wasn't real, then there really is no reason to be good, and there's no point in life.
Right.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good, man. So you saw The Chosen, and how has faith impacted your day-to-day life?
Oh my God. In every way possible.
Yeah.
Especially now, as I've it's weird to say, like, as I've gotten into orthodoxy, because orthodoxy requires so much more. Like, we go to church multiple times a week. It doesn't require, like, you don't have to go multiple times a week, but it's there for you. And I feel like God's always been on my mind. Orthodoxy aside, I feel like God's just always on my mind. I am not as tempted by sinful pleasures or anything like that anymore. I'm more happier in life, more at ease, not too concerned about how much money I make or what the future holds. I kind of just put that trust in God of like, it will work out at some point. All I need to do is just get by, and there is life after this one. It's more of like, there's less pressure in this life if you know that there's an eternal life waiting for you in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, going back to like, it's like we were created for a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were created to win, if I might even say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And winning is getting into heaven.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if we should look at it as that, but
I think that's
it's like
a win.
game.
I think that's a win.
It's a win if we make it.
I would say, hey, if you went to hell, you lost, dude.
No, definitely.
That sounds like losing to me.
No, that is losing.
You know what I mean?
Because you lose God.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, and we were created to be in relationship with God. Our Father.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we make that choice, if we want to get to know him and want to be with him eternally, we make that choice as our life goes on.
Yeah.
And what's really crazy, what's really scary to think about, and why God should be in everyone's day-to-day life is that you never know when your time is up.
It's true.
I think I mentioned this on one of my podcasts, was that Jesus died for our sins, right? He forgives our sins and everything. But I don't know if this is true, but this is a good perspective to have to kind of keep you in line of that when you die, God's going to judge you. Yeah. He's not going to judge you on what you did. He's going to judge you on who you are. And the real question is, who are you going to be when you die? And you don't choose that. Like, what if you are choosing to do something bad or choosing to be the wrong type of person, but being like, well, I'm going to live to 70. I don't have to be too concerned about this yet. Then you die and God's like, well, it matters about who you are right now. And right now you're not choosing to be with me. Yeah. So then, just like in the Bible, depart from me, for I never knew you.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's a good perspective to keep in mind, though.
Yeah.
I think to be able to always kind of keep God in mind and not fall to sinful pleasure is just think about, it's never going to matter what you did. It's going to matter about who you are. But in essence, that does matter what you did, because it could have been if you kept living. Yeah. But if you die, that's who you are.
Yeah. It's scary to say like that message in the Bible where it says, God says like, depart from me, I never knew you.
Yeah.
But
scary.
but Lord, didn't we and even those things was like cast demons out in your name and like, didn't we do all these things for you? And it's like, depart from me, I never knew you. Yeah. That's scary. Yeah. Now good news is, I don't know if you heard that hymn, Jesus paid it all.
I didn't hear that.
All to him I owe. And sin had left a crimson stain. He washed it white as snow. Sorry to sing in front of you, but he washed. The cool thing is like in the Bible it talks about how we are the righteousness of Christ in him. Like his blood has washed us free of sin. Like he's washed us white as snow. Yeah. So it's by faith in Jesus that he is covering our sins. So it's all because of what he did, which gives us access to relationship with him and the ability to be saved and to go to heaven. Yes. But then there is the aspect of we still are judged for our actions here on earth. You can be saved. To my knowledge and understanding of theology, you can be saved. Like some people, I think, barely get in. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the sinner or the thief on the cross, where last minute he talks to Jesus while he's being crucified. And he says like, hey, remember me. Right. And homeboy goes to heaven.
He proves that he believed.
Yeah. And he puts faith in God last minute. And for some people, like, and that's great. Yeah. But I do believe that while our works don't earn us salvation, like what I do doesn't earn like salvation. Right. But there are like it's what Jesus did that allowed me to go to heaven. But what I do does matter in an eternal sense, and we will be judged for that.
Yep. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. That's what I've heard the phrase, and I know this is kind of mixed of once saved, always saved. I've never really liked believing that, because I think it puts people in the wrong mindset of, if you're saved once, like I could say that the chosen saved me, but then I could have that mindset of, well, I was saved, so I can do what I want now. That's not the right. I've seen people fall into that, and it's not good. It's dangerous.
Yeah, that's a tricky, and ultimately I just go back to like, the Bible says to fear God.
Oh yeah.
And
definitely.
It's like, I just want to like live my life for him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the angry father that comes downstairs after you've done something wrong, and you're about to, like, hell is about to rain down on you. Yeah.
Oh man. Very cool, man. So faith is back in your life. What else what are you just excited about and passionate about in this season of life?
I would say I'm really excited to, as I mentioned, opening a new podcast studio soon. Like a podcast house, basically,
In Franklin?
In Franklin, yeah. I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to be eventually baptized into the church, the Orthodox. I've never been baptized before, actually. Cool. And I'm excited to be baptized into the church at some point. The two most popular times to be baptized in Orthodoxy is Pascha, which is Easter, and then Nativity. You can be baptized at any point, to my understanding, but the most popular times, which I think makes sense, is during the birth of Christ and the resurrection. So I think that makes sense. But usually you want to plan it around a holiday. That's usually how the priest will set it up. I'm pretty sure. At least that's from what they've told me. And Pascha is Easter, and usually they recommend, what my priest told me is that they usually recommend that you've been looking into Orthodoxy and attending for about a year. It's not a requirement, but it's just about being baptized in the Orthodox Church is seen as a marriage. Like you're married, you're getting married to the church.
I really don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like, I mean, how other people do baptizing to, I mean, it's the same concept of you're getting married to God. Okay. It's a huge commitment. It's meant to be a huge commitment. I feel like I'm ready for it. I just want to make sure that I don't want it to just be my decision. I also want the priests to be able to see that I'm ready for it, and also some of my peers, like at church, to be able to see that as well. I think by Nativity, by Christmas time, will be like the perfect time for it. I think Pascha, Easter is probably a little bit too soon anyways. Josh is hoping to be chrismated during Pascha. And the reason he's getting chrismated is because he's been baptized in the name of the Holy Trinity before. Yeah. And in Orthodoxy, again, I don't want to like speak for the church, but I have been told this by the priest that the Orthodox Church believes in one baptism, and one baptism in the name of the Holy Trinity. You can't do it again. Whether you were baptized, like Josh was baptized in our old church, even though it wasn't an Orthodox church, he was baptized in the name of the Holy Trinity, which is only done once in Orthodoxy. So he's going to be chrismated, which basically means, actually, I don't know completely what it means, so I don't want to say it, but like, it's not baptism, but it is a form of committing and converting to Orthodoxy, that type of thing. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. I'd love to end with this. And you said something that stood out to me. You talked about how you experienced some depression early in life. I think like junior high and high school. Yeah. People who are listening to this might be in a down and out season. Like they might, feel like God is not for them.
Right.
They might feel like God's against them. They might be struggling with depression. Similar like how you were in that season. Like, what's your message to those people?
My message to those people would be, don't give up on God. Don't give up on yourself. The only reason that you're going through so much torment and depression right now in your life is because God knows that you can get through it, and it's going to make you a stronger person in the end. You might not be able to see it now, but years from now, when it's over, because it does end, pain doesn't last forever. You will be able to look back and realize that the fact that you even got through it made you stronger, and you're going to be grateful for it at one point, because it's going to change you as a person. No matter what, it's meant to happen. That's God's plan for you, and God is only putting you through it because he knows that you're strong enough for it. Wow. Yeah.
I love it, man. Yeah, it makes me, I'm reading through the story of Joseph in Genesis right now.
Okay.
And it's pretty incredible. Like,
I actually don't know it. Yeah, I haven't read too much of the Bible. I'm in John right now.
Okay,
I started with Genesis, but then Josh told me, because in Genesis it's a lot of names and a lot of people I just don't know, and he was like, sometimes it's recommended to start in John. It's more familiar, especially with like the Chosen. The Chosen kind of bases it off of Luke and John.
Oh yeah, if you're first just digging into the Bible, highly recommend start off in the Gospels.
Yeah.
So you're in a great spot there. But yeah, the story of Joseph, the Cliff Notes version, is Joseph was one of 12 brothers. You know, like the tribes of Israel. Israel was his father.
Yep.
Joseph was him and Benjamin were like from their father's like favorite wife, and they were like the favorites because there are multiple wives, but
Yeah.
but they were like
Yeah.
he was like the chosen kid of the bunch.
Yeah.
And so long story short, the brothers were very jealous of Joseph. He had a coat of many colors, and he was just the favored one, and people were jelly.
Yeah.
And so they plot to actually kill him, but instead they end up selling him into slavery.
Gotcha.
Because one of the brothers, I think it was Reuben, he was like, no, let's not, because he would feel bad about, so they sold him to slavery. So he goes and ends up being bought by a guy named Potiphar in Egypt, who was a high-ranking, I think, official within the government of Egypt. And so he gets sold into slavery. He then rises up the ranks and becomes like head of the household, or not head of the household, but like high in command. He was very well trusted by Potiphar.
Yeah.
And then Potiphar's wife gets the hots for him and tries to sleep with him multiple times, and he denies. And finally, like he was like naked, and like she or something like, or he was like almost naked, and she tries to like sleep with him.
I think I have heard this
And-
before.
yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Now I'm starting to recognize it. Yeah.
And so he flees, and she gets all offended.
Yeah.
And she has his towel, and then she goes and lies and says that he tried to sleep with her. And so then he gets thrown into prison. So he was falsely sold into slavery, falsely then thrown into prison. Wow. And prison back in those days were not like prisons today, where it's like you go to prison, you come out with like 20 pounds of muscle because all you do is like eat protein and lift all day.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty cruddy environment.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, long story short, goes through all this stuff, eventually becomes second in command in Egypt. He was like the right-hand man of Pharaoh.
Yeah.
But he goes through all these different steps, and he learns how to forgive. Like you said, when I said, hey, what's your message to those eighth graders?
Yeah.
And you're like, I forgive them. I think that's great, man. That's like a lesson. And I believe that God did not, Joseph passed the test, if you will, of forgiveness, and was able to let things go.
Yeah.
And anyways, it seemed like, God was against him, so to speak. One could maybe like think that, but really God was for him.
There's a lot of stories in the Bible that correlate to that. Noah, Job. Job.
Yeah.
That
for
story.
sure.
Yeah, there's been a lot of worse stories that people have gone through a lot worse than what we do nowadays.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and the Romans, it says, if God is for us, then who can be against us?
Yeah.
And man, any last parting words before we end this pod?
No, I appreciate you having me. This was fun.
Hey, man, you're a good guy. I literally look up to you because you're taller than me. And respect the grind that you have for how old? 23?
23, yeah.
You're 23, showing up at the gym every morning, running your own business, successful, good-looking guy. Are you single?
I am.
All right, ladies, you heard it. He's single. Ready to mingle?
Yeah.
Okay,
I would
ladies,
say
you're
I'm
listening?
looking for an Orthodox girl. Just
All right,
because I want to be
Orthodox
married
girls.
in the church. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's tough. It's weeding
You're
down
you're saying no to like
I know most of the population.
6.9 billion other women on the earth right now.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the difficult part. That's something that Zach brought up to me. He was like, "You're really weeding out your options, aren't you?" I'm like, "It only takes one." Think about it, and it's easier too if you're going to the same church. That's my mindset. It's like I want to go. Like obviously, I'm converting the Orthodox Church, and I want to go to Orthodox Church. I've just seen all the families there, and I've loved it. And it just makes it easier if I have a wife in the Orthodox Church with me, where I can raise my kids in the same church.
I understand.
Makes it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would prefer to marry someone within my theological beliefs and whatnot.
It makes sense.
So,
yeah. It makes things simpler that way. That's a more healthier household, healthier faith upbringing of the kids.
Marriage is really hard.
Oh yeah.
And so relationships, partnerships, any sort of things like that. So the more you can align with your values, the better.
Definitely.
But yeah, man, you're a good guy. Respect to you. Thank you for being on the pod.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, man.
All right.
Let's go.